All right, welcome everybody to episode 3 of VanPals. I am Corey.
Chris.
How's everybody doing? Today we're bringing you a pretty interesting episode because our project, our baby, running into some speed bumps.
Emotional roller coasters, Corey.
Oh man,
Emotional.
tell me about it. All right, so what was the first thing we discovered?
Out of total issues,
Well, there's a few
radio.
things on our minds. What do you want to start with?
Radio was the first one. The issue this weekend, the big surprise was we had a pretty significant leak that came in. We got a lot of rain, so don't know where other people are that are listening, but the Northeast has actually been pretty dry for the past 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's been a drought, man.
Since we bought the van. And so we had our first major rain since buying the van, and there was a puddle inside, which water issues I'm pretty worried about. I was thinking AC unit, there's some staining on the roof, maybe, condensation or whatever from the AC unit. Who knows?
Super common that those AC units leak, right? So
right.
Kind of
water came in the wrong way, there's ways that it could come in. I was like, that's probably what it is. But decided to finally rip off the roof, the interior roof panels, so I could take a look, and found some rust and some major issues. Finally got on top of the van, which is something that maybe if you're going to go look at Sprinter vans, used ones, bring a ladder with you and go check out the roof, because there is a lot of decay, rust, and a crack not even along the seam, a couple inches from a seam on top of the roof, which it made me doubt this whole project for a significant portion of my Saturday morning.
Yeah.
So
here's a photo of it. We're going to show everybody a photo of it. And, we got how the outside looks and inside. I've got no idea how this type of thing happens. I mean, it doesn't look like it's a dent. It doesn't look like it's weird. And, like whenever you buy any car, there's always some story of a used car. And this is one that I just can't explain. So we talked a little bit about the fix. I think, it's a pretty straight crack. The biggest issue with any body work is preventing rust. You're up in the Northeast, so we want to, luckily rust is usually bottom of the car, not top of the car. Top of the car rust really isn't a problem because typically it gets blown off when you're driving around and, that kind of stuff. And that's not where all the salt is, all that kind of thing. But, that's something that's going to have to get welded and then ground down and smoothed out and painted over and sealed and primed and all that stuff, which is kind of a bummer, but
I've got a very specific timeline I'm trying to fit things into for this fall to get the build done. And it's going to take, it's something that we have to solve before we can do some of the build out in the interior, as well as, start doing the finish work, right? So I'm going to have to make sure that we get this well done, make sure it's sealed, it's good, taken care of, before we can do some of the other projects that we talked about. So
yeah, you can't build anything in the van while you've got a giant hole in the roof.
Right.
Yeah, that's and I saw those photos. Just as you said, it sets you back. It's not a huge deal. We're doing fabrication here. We're going to be welding stuff to the roof because we're going to do racks. We're going to be cutting the roof. So like in the grand scheme of things, it's not a big deal because we're doing all this stuff anyway. But at the same time, it's like shit. It's another thing you don't want to worry about.
Let's just say I needed a beverage early on a Saturday.
Ooh, did we skip our beer? I think we did.
Yeah, we did.
We were too excited.
Yeah, so as you can see, this one's updated with the times.
Oh, it's got a mask on.
It's got a mask on it. You can see what he looks like without the mask. This is Big Tree Brewing. It's right in the Waterbury area, local.
Cool.
And this beer is actually called a Mr. Waterbury, and it's a single hop Citra IPA. Very delicious. And it was cool because early during the pandemic, when everyone was out of work, the brewing company owns a few restaurants, and so they were doing sort of a special where you go and pay $20 for a 4-pack, which I know is a lot. You go to Night Shift Brewing, some others, these breweries, you could pay way more than that for a single bottle, right? But $20, but they gave you a $5 gift card to one of their restaurants, and they promised to donate half of that 20 towards employees that were out of work because everything was shut down. So
that's pretty good. That's a nice program. Isn't that great? Yeah.
Made me feel better about buying a lot of beer.
Yeah. I was going to say, we don't need a good excuse. We just need a excuse. I'm going, with a little bit more of a larger company. I've got the classic Dale's Pale Ale, which is just, it's cheap. It's good. It's just kind of a old faithful here. So cheers, cheers to
Cheers, bud.
fixing the van and getting, getting over the hump of fixing stuff and getting to the hump of doing stuff. So we've got the crack on the top. You also found something on the bottom, right?
Yeah. So you and I both, when we went and looked at the van, checked out the bottom, and it looked great, right?
Yeah.
The sealant, whatever it is, the undercoating looked pretty good, not minimal rust. Structurally, it looked pretty great. The Carfax said that there was an accident in the rear right side, and we couldn't really find anything. Like, didn't seem like the frame was tweaked or anything.
Right.
But it was under there the other day, just like looking at stuff, right? Because it's Sprinter van, there's a ton of space. Checking it out, and there's a full crack, and we'll cue that up so you guys can see it.
Yeah.
And it mimics right on both sides. So one picture is from one side, one picture is from the other side.
Yeah.
And I couldn't really tell what was going on. I thought maybe that it was, in my inexperience, I thought maybe it was cut because it looks like there's a bolt up under there, sort of in a weird spot. I didn't know if it was for putting the seats in underneath or what. But your explanation actually made a little bit more sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, and this is something which, I wish I had noticed when we looked at the van first, because, it's a classic thing. I mean, so basically whenever you get a car towed, the tow company is going to go into the car and look for places to put their tow hooks. And then they're going to grab the van or the whatever and just turn on the winch and drag it. And often they'll grab something which isn't supposed to be, it's not a point where you can grab from. So to my eyes, this is, it's part of a frame rail, but that is a hole in the frame rail that's not like a reinforced structural one. So you don't want to tow from that. And because it goes backwards, right, it tells me that they were trying to pull the van backwards onto a flatbed trailer, and they grabbed those and it pulled it and it cut the metal basically all the way until it hit the axle, which is reinforced. And then from there on out, it just got pulled up. And that's super. You look at, not any used car, but most used cars, if you look underneath, you'll find one of those holes and there's going to be a gash or it's going to be pulled, just because, guys that are driving tow wreckers, they don't know every car. I'm not trying to hate on them. I'm just saying, like, they're going to grab whatever they can because they got to get the thing on the wrecker. They don't know where the safe spots are, where the tow spots are. So yeah, that I saw that and I was like, that's a pain. Again, I'm not hugely concerned structurally, but it's another rust thing, and that's part of the bottom of the car where, we really have to take care. We need to do some work to be sure that doesn't become a problem later on the line.
Yeah. I was thinking grinding it down, making sure that we coat it and clear up any of the rust that's sort of showing there already.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay. So we've got, you already fixed the radio, which is cool. We've got the top seam and we got the bottom seam. And so much of this is just the adventures of buying any used car. And this one was thankfully a good deal. So we are at least a little bit ahead of the game in the dollars spent. We'll see where we end up, but it's a pretty good thing.
It pays to have friends that have skills, right? So I was texting with you on Saturday when I saw it, and I was also texting a friend that I think is going to build some, weld some stuff together for unique racks and stuff like that we'll feature. But yeah, so I was talking to him about his welding experience, you about sort of the car experience and all this stuff, and between the two of you got me off the ledge. From thinking that I totally spent money on something that we shouldn't have and botched this whole deal. It made me feel like we could actually repair it without paying, an auto body shop or someone else an absurd amount of money to try to deal with it. So
this is a great van life lesson, I swear to God, because, everyone that lives this life has a moment where they're like, everything seems to be wrong, right? Where, the van breaks down or something happens or the camp, everyone's got a story, and it's always the same story of like feeling like, why the F did I do this? But what's cool about this, and I think what is so attractive about doing this project, is it enables you to be better. It gives you confidence about stuff like this because you say, listen, I'm gonna get through this. You know, I don't, you know, I'm broken down in Oregon, but I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to get through it. And it gives you that sense of self-reliance and confidence. So, you know, you saw this and you had this moment of despair, but then you're like, I got friends. I know how to deal with this. And then you're like, well, it's no different than fixing anything else. And you just fix it, you know? And yeah, so I think it's nice to have those experiences though, when you are at home, not on the road, you know, you don't want to be in, you know, Manitoba, Canada, you know, with a van that's broken down. It's cool when something happens in your driveway. So, you know, we'll chalk this up to a learning experience.
Yeah, for sure. And it's, you know, I already said it, but, you know, I really think that if you are going to go look at a used van, you want to either borrow a ladder or something and go check out the roof, because you know, so much of that build is important to be waterproof. Checking some of those seams and knowing how much work it's going to be to potentially seal them. And granted, if it was a seam instead of where it is, I think that it would be a much easier solution. You know, we can put on, you know, whether we just use tape or sand, reseal, that sort of thing, versus having to weld like we're doing. But I think that it helps you know what you're getting into. And I think I should have crawled under the van a little bit more, and we could have, you know, discovered those toe spots a little earlier.
So I think
this is a way to, you know, negotiate. Hey, you guys, there's rips in the friction.
And that's one of the challenges. Like Sprinter vans are like pickup trucks, right? Where they typically haven't lived an easy life before you buy them. So what we're going to do is, you know, we've done some work here, and we've got a list together for all you guys, and we're going to make a video about if you're buying a Sprinter van, what you got to look for. It's going to be a top down, and, you know, hey, this is what we learned. We got into it knowing a bunch, but we also learned a bunch. So we're gonna bring that video out to you guys about, you know, hey, you're buying a Sprinter van. These are the things you want to check for, because these are the serious problem spots. Because you don't want to be, you know, buying a van and then being 10 grand into repairs before you even start the fun stuff. So you know, stay tuned for that.
I don't even know if you know, like if this wasn't something I could fix myself, or I had a friend that could weld, you that knows a little bit about auto bodies, like if I went to an auto body place, you know, for a fix like this, I mean, how much do you think it would set back? I mean, obviously it's different where you are in the country, but
yeah, I mean, it kind of depends. I mean, I think if so much of time and effort of body repair is like paint mixing and being sure things look smooth, that's where all the effort is. You know, it'd probably take a guy. I mean, you know, if you went to a machine shop that had a good welder, and then you went to a guy that paint, you could probably get out of that repair for under $1,000. You know, I don't think, you know, the top repair, the bottom repair, you know, maybe you know, maybe about that too, you know. But I mean, you know, if you brought it to one guy, you may, you know, be top and bottom $1,000. You know, it's not going to paint match. It's not going to be, you know, like a show car level repair, but, you know, we don't give a shit. So, you know, because on the roof, so you just need it to not leak and not rust. So, you know, I'm thinking, you know, $1,500 probably is probably what you're looking at for that kind of repair. But no, you got to know somebody, you know, and so much of owning a van is having a community, you know, because, you know, you don't want to just bring your van to a Mercedes dealership. You don't want to bring your van to some, you know, Bubba's Auto. Sorry, Bubba. I mean, maybe you're a great mechanic, but you don't want to bring it to anybody. You want to have a community that can help you, because that's why, like, you know, we're on, you know, sprintersource.com, the tons of the great Facebook groups, because people have questions like this, and you can save yourself a lot of money if you just ask us first. And so that's, you know, that's awesome.
Yep. The internet has been fantastic. Although, you know, in this situation, I was looking and I didn't see, like, in my immediate searches, I didn't see really any good solutions in there. And I was looking Sprinter specific, like, why is the roof cracking, you know, and they're talking about seams. This wasn't a seam, and it got me all nervous. But you know, again, it's just a typical car repair. And, you know, like you said, I have some other friends that I didn't even check in with that do some of the stuff that, you know, I probably would have fallen back to next, but there's still a moment of panic where it's just,
Yep. You always have that moment. So, I mean, that's, you know, so we got the radio fix. You got the two body repairs to fix. That's kind of it for surprises, right? We're pretty good at
so far.
Okay.
Yeah, and I peeled a lot of the interior off. Can flash some photos of that here for you guys.
Yep, great.
You know, exposing it, seeing some more of the normal panel van type stuff. Did an order already just for some basic things that we had talked about. Just, thinking about timelines, it's like, I just want to get some orders in. So ordered some, I decided to go with Thinsulate insulation.
Cool. Good choice.
3M. Yeah, it's a good one. I really wanted to do wool, but the Goodwill distributors were weeks out, months out,
right.
Because of how popular it is. And it's like, again, time frame.
What's the benefits of wool versus the Thinsulate? What did you find?
All natural versus a chemical property, but they both do about the same thing. And as far as I've read, the wool actually has a slightly better R value.
Okay.
Surprising, but they're both good against any moisture, that sort of stuff. So they're easy to put in, both of them, because you can sort of stuff them in areas, whether you're putting up any adhesive and sticking them on, or whether you're just shoving them in areas. So both easy to do, good R values, somewhere around like 6 or 7, which is going to be great for doing the van.
Yep.
And wanted to do that, but Thinsulate's probably a little bit more expensive.
Yep.
But we also have windows, so as far as square footage, we're probably a little bit less than the average cargo van.
That's right. Right. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to insulate a van, and you really got to do your homework, because, there's going to be condensation between, if the van is 60 and outside is 40, there's going to be, a point there where, so, these are products that are made to deal with the moisture, because you can't get mold buildup. And, the last thing you want is to be in this humid, moldy, rusting from the inside out van. So if you're going to insulate your van, do your research, like you're saying, because there's some great products for this. Yeah.
And there's a lot of, on YouTube, online, there's a bunch of really good arguments either way for things. Do you have a vapor barrier? Do you not put up a vapor barrier? Do you use,
do some digging on like spray foam? I mean, go in that route. Yeah.
And spray foam, is a great product in the fact that you can just spray it right on, right? And it's going to seal and all that stuff. But there's too many complaints sort of about the smell, the overlasting,
It does. It does have an odor, right?
Because, we spray foamed, this attic up here, like our 1.5 house, and this is spray foam underneath our drywall up here. And, I haven't really ever noticed it, but I'm not going to go spend the money on spray foam only to find, like, that's something you can't really easily take away, right?
No. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So I'd rather do something that I know is okay, even if it costs a little bit of money.
We got the insulation coming. What else you got coming, Chris?
Yeah, I ordered, so I actually forgot the brand right now, but some rattle trap type stuff, some sound dampener. We talked about it on a previous episode, the sound, how loud it can be. So even though a passenger van already has some installed in it, which I don't think you get in a normal cargo van. There's some in there. It's pretty minimal. It's like, of an area, it's maybe 20%, so I decided to order it. I'd rather
it's going to go under the floor or around the whole van?
It's going to go both on the floor and on the walls and on the ceiling. So I think they say 50% is maybe, like, you don't need more than 50% coverage in a given area, because it's already taking away that. So I ordered a couple rolls. We'll do a video once I actually do the install. But
insulating the van, it's going to be good video. I'm excited about that. That'll be fun.
Yeah, very excited. But again, just trying to get some stuff that I can, again, time frame. I wish that I could have all the time in the world to get a van, go there, get a garage and just do everything. But that's not the way
I have a garage.
Yeah, I do know someone with a garage, but it's the time. And I'm hoping to come down and hang out with you for a week, but right now it's a few hours here or there, and so just getting the stuff is actually going to make me feel better. So
that's one thing that, like, we talked about this before. It's important to me. I mean, we love watching, and we all love watching these videos of people doing the vans, right? But the thing is, what bugs me is they're being a little bit dishonest about how hard this is. This isn't an easy process. It's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work. And you've got these videos and people are just like, it's like, oh, we built this van. Like, you either spent a lot of money or you're hiding a lot of the work. So we're going to try to really be honest about what this is, because it's not that easy. There's a couple of pretty good channels that I follow that, they do a good job of being honest about, hey, van life, has challenges, and we're going to be honest about that. I appreciate that. I really want us to follow that kind of model when we're building this thing, because if you're going to get into it, you got to know, because you don't want to be halfway into a van build and then go,
Yeah, and I think obviously if we decide, if we do this, we do it right, we decide to sell and maybe do another one, like we're gonna learn a lot from this process, right? So
yeah,
we can always get some efficiencies, but for right now, it's this is my baby, right? Like, this is our baby. We're gonna try to do this right. But at the same time, I'm working a full-time job, my wife's working a full-time job, we have a 3-year-old, and he likes hanging out in the van, which is lucky, because he comes in there and I can be peeling stuff back and doing some work and measurements and planning.
But you can't have a circular saw out cutting stuff, right?
It makes it a little more difficult. So, I think that there will be a build portion where, either at your place, or I sort of get away, take some days off when Harley's at daycare, and do some of this. But we will also want it to be a family thing, right? Like, I want him to feel like a part of it. So another thing that we did today that was really fun is finally came up with sort of a design. And it's not pretty. If we decide to flash on the screen here, please.
We're going to do a separate video about the design.
Ignore my. We
are going to do draft 1 of the design. Do not judge us design video. So we'll post that up soon.
But it was really good to actually stand in the van. Harley was playing around. Pam was in it with me, and to just say, like, this is what I think we should do. Going through it, being a passenger van, we have some differences. Like, in a panel van, you can decide to have your bed 36 inches up, 40 inches up. Like, doesn't matter, because there's no windows, right? And you can install like a small little window there. For us, it's, I don't want my bed halfway up a window and then deal with either condensation or whatever it is on the window. So it's planning to be, sort of framing below the window. Harley's bed, he's going to be a bunk bed above the window, things like that.
Frame close those windows if you wanted to, right?
We could, but we want them. We want them there. I mean, it's going to be nice. And maybe we keep the shades and thermal barriers up a lot. Maybe we don't. Again, as I mentioned before, we've got tinted windows that are very tinted. Right? And it's, pretty private in there. If I go up, it's like you have to do this in order to see through. So we just walked through and talked about what we're doing, and that can change, but we have a general design. We're going to put together a better on paper design, but I think that we know what type of bed that we want. We know what type of garage that we want, generally where the batteries are going to be, where we're going to place our sink.
Right.
I think we decided to cut down a 3-seater to a 2-seater, whether we get to that before we, this winter. I'm not
sure. we got a video coming for that. We did a lot of work. That's a huge question is, how do you do? And so, we got something coming for everybody.
There's a couple different ways to do it. And, again, having a friend that can weld makes a big difference when you're going to get into, cutting a seat or thinking about fabricating seats. So a lot of that stuff, but we were able to sit there and just say, this is what we're thinking, generally where lights are, where power are, stuff like that, which means that when we come to actually designing and like full on designing, saying our bed's going to be this big by this big, and it's going to be this style, it's going to make it easier, just generally understanding where we want our layout. Again, we're going to be a little bit more modular. I want to make sure that the bed, while it's not necessarily convertible, can be taken out if we ever need to put something big in the back when we're driving around town, whatever it is. So
this isn't, and I love the concept of, a flex build where it's not just, a wooden kitchen in a one-purpose van. It's a multi-purpose van.
I would love to.
So much better.
I would love to, going on Instagram, watching these videos of people that are building for the van life, which means that they're living out of their van, right? I would love to do that. That'd be awesome to build but that's not what this vehicle is going to be for us.
Right. We said in episode 1, like, you need to know what you're building before you build it. You need to know how you're going to use this thing. And that's, as you said, huge. If you're van lifing and that's the only purpose of this van, it's one thing. But if you're, you want to use it as a toy hauler, you want to use it, to go pick up grocery. There's different things here. Yeah.
Yep. So I think we feel a lot more comfortable about what we're doing. Have some, I think, pretty cool ideas about doing sort of table, like dining room table, the bed, and some unique builds that we'll get into a little bit later. I'm going to share my designs with Corey first,
Yeah, right.
But it's sort of like space innovative type things that allows us to, whether we're going skiing for a weekend and we might have that as our base camp for the weekend, and more people are with us, and being able to expand it to have more than just our family in there, to when it's just, the three of us traveling around. So we want to make sure that we can do sort of all of it.
Right. So for next week or 2 weeks from now, for next episode, we're going to be, aiming to get, some of these fixes done, and, kind of get our layout, our plans ready for everybody. That way, you see what we're going to do. We got a bunch of cool stuff coming. I can't wait to show people what you bought, the piles of boxes. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. And some sweet things, we didn't really talk about it here, but a little teaser. I mean, auxiliary spot on the motor that we're thinking about putting an extra alternator on.
We're doing a separate video about that. Absolutely.
Things like that for battery power, and some of the other stuff that I think that we can really do, whether it's talking about ride springs, rhino lining on the roof, which I know plenty of people have done, but like just some really cool stuff that I think we have planned out that hopefully you guys will be psyched on.
There's a lot to this. We're going to get through it one video at a time. We're going to build this fucking van. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, there's I took a video of me dealing with the crack, and there's definitely some emotional roller coaster. And you'll see sad Chris.
Absolutely. And Chris. It's going to be a meme. Sad Chris. Yeah, right.
And I have a plan. Actually, talk to people that knew what they were talking about, Chris. So
there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. One day at a time, you get to the next challenge, and you build a van. That's gonna be fun. Cool.
All right, dude. Thanks so much, buddy.